Alright, yesterday we talked about piecewise functions and we graphed them. Now we're kind of going backwards. We're going to start off with a function and like a graph and go backwards and write it as a piecewise function. So the one we're dealing with here is an absolute value equation. So hopefully you remember what f of x equals absolute value of x looks like. Anybody? Anybody? That's right, a v, right? So f of x equals absolute value of x would look like this, right? V shape with a vertex at the origin. Slope of the line over here is 1, slope over here is negative 1. Well, if we subtract 2 on here, on the inside with the x, remember we talked about that again recently, is if you subtract 2 on the inside, we're going to move it to the right 2. So this graph of the function we're looking at looks something like this. So basically all this is two lines put together. Right? And that's what we're looking at with our piecewise functions is two graphs that are kind of merged together. So what we're doing is now taking this and rewriting it as a piecewise function, two parts. So our first part, this line, occurs when x is less than 2 or less than or equal to. It doesn't matter how we set it up. I'm just going to say less than or equal to 2 for that. But our other line then is going to be when x is greater than 2. It really doesn't matter which one you use, where it's greater than or equal to. It's fine either way because it's going to be connected so it gets filled in. But only one can be or equal to. So this could be less than, this one would be greater than or equal to, or you can have it the way it is. Well, let's look at this first part, equation of this line. Well, we know it goes to the point 2, 0. What's the slope of this line going to be? Slope should be 1, right? That's how basic absolute value graph is. We're not doing anything to change that. So we're going to have a slope of 1. So if we go from this point to the left, we go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So I'm sorry, the slope is actually negative 1. But we go over, and there's our y-intercept, which is positive 2. So we end up with negative x plus 2, because our slope of this line is negative, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, and the y-intercept is 2. All right, for the second part, this line has a slope of 1. It goes up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. If we went the opposite way, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, we would find out where it would have a y-intercept. It would go through the y-axis at negative 2, so we have a slope of 1x, minus 2. Well, what do you notice here? Take a good look at our original function and our piecewise function. Got x minus 2 here, x minus 2 here. This part, not x minus 2, but what is it? It's the opposite of x minus 2, right? Negative x plus 2. It's just the opposite, multiplying it by a negative 1. That's what happens here when we kind of flip this line over. So basically what we have here, this piecewise function is just kind of a more complicated way of looking at this equation, breaking it into smaller pieces. And this is kind of going to happen for each absolute value function. The left side here is going to be the opposite of what's inside the absolute value. The right side is going to be what's inside the absolute value. So the right side is the x minus 2. And then the left side is just the opposite of that. So negative x plus 2. So let's look at this in a general form. Rewriting an absolute value function as a piecewise function. Let's say we have f of x equals the absolute value of x plus a. Or we have f of x equals the absolute value of x minus a. We can rewrite these as piecewise functions. For this one, x plus a, we're going to have on the left side, the first part is always going to be the opposite of this. So it's going to be negative x minus a. The right side is just going to be what's inside the absolute value. It's going to be x plus a. So in this case, opposite of what's inside there would be negative x plus a. On the right side, it's exactly how it is. X minus a. And for this, we're going to have when x is, let's look back at this one. Right, we had x minus 2, our value here was 2. Basically whatever makes this 0, right, or the opposite of this number. So in this case, we've got this when x is less than a, and then when x is greater than or equal to a. Again, just like before, remember it doesn't matter which one's or equal to as long as one of them is. So over here, we can put x is less than or equal to negative a, right? It has to be, I'm sorry, I messed that one up. Let's look back at that. I'm looking at the wrong part here. The plus a, so this should be negative a. And this one over here should be positive a. And it's basically opposite. Just like it was up here. Negative 2, this is 2. That shift we talked about.